Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us with a really special program to help you stay curious today. Here beside me is Daniel DeYoung. Daniel, great to see you, my friend.
Good to see you.
Daniel's become a fast friend of our museum with our Shuttle Fest events and other things we've done. And he is a pilot for Spirit Airlines, Captain DeYoung. Okay. He's got a fascinating story. You have been inside a Soyuz spacecraft, correct?
Sure have.
Inside of an EVA Soviet suit, and done all kinds of cool things on there. And one of the ultimate space geeks or space enthusiasts out there, Daniel DeYoung. Welcome to Stay Curious.
Glad to be here.
You've been a fan of us for a while. Tell us about where you first found Stay Curious.
That would have been after my first visit here, I think. I can't really recall.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah,
Closer?
yeah.
Okay.
There, Marty Winkle there, our cameraman, my co-producer here, just making a few adjustments here. So yeah, speak up good, Daniel there. Yeah, after your first visit here and you learned about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what you're doing now, and his whole life revolves around America, Ukraine, and the Netherlands, correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I grew up in a place called Wassenaar in the Netherlands. And after I turned 22, I resigned from the Royal Dutch Air Force. I was a assistant fighter controller there. And then after that, I came to the United States to go to flight school. Completed flight school and had a number of jobs there. As a flight instructor, cargo pilot, and now I'm an airline pilot with Spirit Airlines.
Huh. We're going to see a couple pictures of his life in a few minutes and where it all started for you. But today your job is?
Today my job is to tell you about the highlights of my life in the space
No,
industry.
I mean your vocation, where you cash a check from doing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I'm a captain for Spirit Airlines.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Drive that big Airbus.
yeah, we still have some A319s. Those are gonna be replaced by more modern 320s,
Uh-huh.
and then we have 321s.
What's been your regular route lately?
Don't really have a regular route. I bid for certain days off, times of the day that I'd like to fly, that sort of thing, and then the computer will generate a schedule, and so it's a surprise basically every month where I'm going to
Okay.
go.
Interesting.
Could be anywhere from Lima, Peru to Los Angeles, California.
All right. And you fly Europe?
No Europe, no. We do
Okay.
Central and South America, North America, Caribbean.
Canada?
No.
Oh, okay.
We do not fly to Canada. Get close.
Okay.
We do have a lot of Canadian passengers. We pick them up here in Detroit. Well, not here in Detroit, but since I live in Detroit.
Uh-huh.
And nearby Niagara Falls, we used to pick them up there. I don't know if we still do or not, but yeah, we do, but no destination in Canada.
All right. Well, everybody relax and sit back. We're going to hear a great story from this man. We have got in, what is the sunrise we have here, Daniel, that you photographed?
The sunrise is above, or it's behind Pad 1 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. So Pad 1 is where it all started with Sputnik.
Yeah, October 1957, we're looking at the main launch there. Okay. All right, increase the gain a little bit here. We'll do that. There you go. Okay, I go a little softer there. All right, and I'm going to push that. We're going to fine tune that a little bit, Daniel.
Okay.
All right. There you go. And
So-
I won't shout like I usually do.
But anyway, that's
Well,
what.
that is history right there, folks. Sunrise over the first spaceport in all eternity, as Hugh Harris would say.
Yeah.
Or that's pretty cool there. You had to be at the right place at the right time and the right day to get that.
Yeah, we sure were. That was in March of 2018. when I think it was mission MS-8 Drew Feistel.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to the International Space Station.
In fact, I pulled up the MS-8. Has a Russian on it, Oleg, and then Andrew Feustel and Ricky Arnold.
Right.
Were the two NASA astronauts on there. We'll see pictures of them later that you photographed. And to kick our Stay Curious off today, let's show a little bit of beautiful artwork here so we can all be touched by the moon, as this is Chris Callie's title for this Van Gogh background and his just wonderful rendition of Earthrise there. And we're going to talk about Ukraine because here in a minute you're going to see that Daniel's married to a beautiful Ukrainian woman. But Callie sends this to specifically for you. He said, for our pal Daniel, Starry Night has the colors of the Ukraine. I'm a Ukrainian descent on my mother's side. Though you're a Dutch on there, this is there's why we talk about Ukraine.
That's right. That picture was taken in, I believe it was called Kitman. It was near Chernivtsi in western Ukraine. We were not able to have our wedding.
Your wife's name, tell everybody.
My wife's name is Ludmila, and but she goes by Luda.
Luda, hello to you. We can't wait for you to see this. Your husband, he's warming up here. Yeah. You can fly an airplane, but I can tell you're a little nervous, so that's all right.
Yeah, I'm not the best public speaker, I suppose.
You're doing great. You're doing great. And boy, have we got some stuff to show you today. This man has done things that I never envisioned that you did. But Luda, we're proud of you. Your husband told me all about you. You're involved in the government and so forth over there in the Ukraine. And yes, there's a horrible war going on there, and you're going to talk about that. But is this a traditional wedding garb?
But this was on taken on a special day, and my memory's failing me right now.
No, that's all right. Well, just as long as you remember the date of that day. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What date was it?
May 19th.
All right, there you go. That's all you got to remember.
Right.
All right. You forget that, and you're in big. Luda's going to have you in big trouble there. But she looks beautiful, beautiful bouquet there. Nice little arch. But let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now. As we'll show you we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
What you're doing now and how you got inspired to do this now. So what airport's that?
I think this was taken right here in Orlando.
Okay.
So that's a Airbus 321 Neo. Neo indicating the newer engines that are on there, more fuel efficient and quieter. And yeah, so that's what that is.
Mm-hmm. And there you are, Captain. And I hope there's a lot of good locks on those windows when you're flying. They just
Yeah, it was that window needs to come inside a little bit first before you can open it up. And so in flight it would be impossible to open up that window because of all the pressure towards the outside.
Well, here's inside your office.
Yeah, it's a very nice office. This was taken inside I think that's a 320 Neo.
Now those touch screens and
they're not touch screens.
Okay. So you have a mouse up there, or what? How do you?
No, it's the big screen right in front of me with the big circle, the attitude indicator. Next to that is my navigational screen, and the two in the middle give me parameters of all the systems on board the aircraft. And then the little one just to the left of that, I use that to communicate with air traffic control. And then the one that's more flat, I use that to tell the airplane where I want to go. I type the flight plan goes in there, my fuel numbers go in there. Basically, that's my interface. I can control the airplane with that box.
Mm-hmm. Now, how many years have you flown? What's your experience record?
So I'm closing in on about 16,000 hours altogether. Of that is about 11,000 and change in the Airbus.
Mm-hmm.
Accumulated that in about 17 and a half years of flying.
Oh.
Well, that's just on the Airbus.
So when you get your ticket, everybody ask, is Daniel DeYoung my captain? Because I know he knows what's going on, right? But, you know, one thing, we have a question there. We'll shoot to a question there, Marty.
Yeah, Gary excuse me, Gary Gerald's asking, Daniel, where did you go to flight school?
I went to flight school at the Aviation Career Academy in New Jersey. That school moved later on to someplace in Florida, but it's, as far as I know, it's no longer in
Okay.
business. I think that place where I went to was in Lakeland.
Thank you for watching Gary Gerald. He's getting those Vidalia onions out of the ground up there. Do you know what Vidalia onions are?
I do not.
They're a sweet onion, and
Okay.
they're only grown in one county in Georgia.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
they're really desired after, yeah. They're and he's a farmer for that. You've seen Gary on the show, I believe. Gary Gerald.
Yes.
It's been on here before. So before we leave your career, I would like to just mention this. Of course, we're fans of the National Aviation and Space Administration.
Mm-hmm.
And that aviation in NASA, a good, at least $3 billion a year is spent on that of NASA's budget. The skies are so safe, Daniel, is what I'm getting at. I mean, you know, God bless us and knock on wood, there's not been a major aircraft problem, loss of life in over a decade, probably. So speak to how safe this is and how what a good job NASA's done in the FAA, if they have, in your opinion.
Well, I'm not real sure as to what exactly NASA does in terms for aviation. You know, we interact with NASA through a safety program. So if something were to happen, then we can write a report, and that report will go to NASA, and NASA will use that in their studies to make things safer. But yes, definitely the safest mode of travel. I'm never worried about anything happening to me when I get on a jet and go somewhere. It's getting safer as time goes on. We're getting all these new features on the aircraft. We can see all the other airplanes around us within a certain radius. We can see where they are. We can see who they are. We can see where they're going, how fast they're going, and everything else. Our situational awareness is really great. And the controllers, as stressed as they are, because we're a bit short of controllers right now.
Air traffic controllers.
That's correct, yes. And when that becomes an issue, they just kind of keep the airplanes on the ground a little bit longer so that their sectors don't get oversaturated. But yeah, it's...
Well, I wanted to speak to that because it is incredible how aviation has become so commonplace, and you're insinuating you feel a little bit getting behind the car not as safe as behind the jet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's more predictable.
Uh-huh.
You know, when you're driving down the interstate, you never know what the guy's going to do that's driving behind you or next to you or in front of you.
Uh-huh.
In aviation, it's more predictable.
All right. Well, let's move on to where you got hooked on aviation. There's another one of your passions.
Historical aircraft, yeah, that's a DC-3. That particular one flew on D-Day. And at the time, obviously, it belonged to the United States Army. After the war, it changed hands to the Royal Dutch family, and it became their version of Air Force One. And later, it became a test aircraft for the Dutch version of the FAA. Now it's owned by a flying museum. Sadly, they're going to discontinue flying that aircraft later on this year. But I did get a chance to fly on it together with my parents about almost 2 years ago.
Sweet. Well, here's how it all began for you, you told me.
Yeah, that's an ASK 13 two-seater glider. It's got wooden wings covered with fabric. The fuselage is metal tubes, and then they covered that with fabric. So it's that picture is out of an ASK-21. We're having some fun over the base there where we were flying. It's over a naval air station called Valkenburg. But that station is closed now, and it's no longer being used as an airport.
All right. And throw in some pictures here of your aviation out the window.
Cape Canaveral,
Yeah.
as we were making our way to San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Well, you've posted a few pictures I've seen of the Cape on going over there. So
Yeah, I always look for it.
Yeah, good. And
That's over the Atlantic Ocean. It's the one and only time that I saw something resembling the Northern Lights.
yeah, that is the Northern Lights there. That looks good. But this is incredible, folks.
St. Elmo's Fire.
St. Elmo's Fire.
You fly long enough through rain, eventually enough static electricity will build up, and it'll cause that to appear in your windshield.
And you told me, tell me that the windshields have gotten thicker, but before that, you could do what with this electricity?
So for a short while earlier on in my career, I was flying DC-3s, and DC-3s had much thinner plexiglass windows. They were only like maybe not even a half-inch thick. They were pretty thin, and if you had that St. Elmo's Fire going on, you could put your finger on the windshield and kind of play with it like you do with a plasma ball.
Right. Go buy a plasma ball at Spencer's Gift and play around with that stuff there. And that's fascinating.
But now the windshields are too thick, so it's you can
take you home a little bit there. You told me this is how the Dutch keep their feet dry.
Yeah. So in 1953, a very large portion of the Netherlands was completely flooded after a major storm, and they developed this plan called the Delta Plan. And that included building a number of dams and dikes to prevent that from ever happening again. But then the environmental people came in. They were worried about the fish and the salt water. So the salt water is maintained here, and they only close this dam when the water gets to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that's at. And lots of windmills everywhere.
Very interesting. Great country.
Yeah.
Well, because your wife's from the Ukraine, and this says you told me I love Ukraine.
And I do.
And we're going to see some street scenes here. Is that above Kiev?
Yep. That's the city of Kiev. As we're, I think I'm departing there. We just took off from Boryspil Airport en route to Frankfurt, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So that picture is taken at Maidan. Maidan is Ukrainian for square. That's the Square of Independence.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
And that's the department store.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Like a Macy's or something.
Yeah, very much like that. And then on the top floor there, they got various movies theater. We like to go there from time to time.
Uh-huh. Now, there is Americans, take alert to what this man says here. There is a very serious war going on with the Ukrainian people in Russia. And you can read up all that you want about it, but here's the reality of it. What was this, an apartment complex or?
Yeah. And it's obviously been hit by several missiles and gunfire. This is in Irpin, if I'm not mistaken. And the Russians got very close to Kiev, but not close enough. They wanted to take hold of that airport where the Antonov factory is, and then their plan was to fly in troops in there and keep it going. And they did manage to get that airport for a little while, but we were able to push them back, and it's, now that airport is back in the Ukrainian hands. That train is basically my new ride into town since we cannot fly. Ukrainian airspace is closed.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you said that you had to get to see your wife. You have to take a 10-hour train trip from
Takes about 12 hours from the Polish border to Kiev.
Polish border. Wow.
So now this is also at Maidan. Now the Ukrainian people are very grateful for the assistance that they're getting, or what they have been getting from the United States. Now, unfortunately, that has stalled, and Ukrainian soldiers are now paying for that stalling with their lives.
Wow. You said you've run out of ammunition.
Yeah,
Things like that.
when troops run out of ammo, they run into the Russians. They basically get executed on sight.
Mm-hmm.
That's the consequences of not having any ammo.
And had lunch with Daniel, and some of the heartache he's telling me is the ruthlessness of the Russian army. You said they went to a senior citizen center, tied everyone behind their back of their arms behind their backs, and shot them in the head.
Yeah, it was they just took them out of their homes where they lived, and yeah, they were found with their hands tied behind their back and a hole in the back of their head. And and it's not that far, and that's a church, just like that other building that I showed you earlier. You can see all the bullet holes in it. So they have not been kind on that building. There was some serious fighting going on there.
It has, of course, support of America, and there is the Ukrainian flag in the cupola of the International Space Station.
Yeah, Randy Brasnik.
There's Randy.
He took that flag up with him on his flight to the ISS, and there he is presenting in Kiev at the House of America, and he was just telling us about his flight up there.
Wow. We're going to see some amazing gold. That's also University of Michigan colors, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why Chris Kelly also likes it, and Dave Stange and whatnot. But there's the hubbub. You said this is one of the last times you were in the terminal there.
Yeah, I took that picture the last time that I left Kiev by plane, and it was already to the point that none of the airline crews were staying overnight in Kiev, so they flew in and then they flew back out. So when I left, they flew in an empty airplane from Amsterdam, and there was only like 23 of us on board or so.
Wow. Yeah, let's go to now we're going to see some war, remnants of the war here.
Yeah, that's also near Bucha and Irpin. Those are Russian tanks that were destroyed. And this is at the airport where Antonov has its factory. You can see
And Antonov, tell us what that company's known for.
Antonov is famous in the West for building those very large cargo airplanes like the Antonov 124. It looks like an American C-5 with a high wing, 4 engines, and you can literally drive a tank inside that aircraft. Those are very large airplanes. Okay. That's what they're known for mostly. That what you see in the front there with those 2 propellers, that's the remnants of an Antonov 26. Wow.
And the largest airplane in the world is this.
Yeah, that's the what's left of the Antonov 225. We call it Maria, which stands for Dream. It was a 6-engine version of the Antonov 124, basically, and they designed it and built it to carry Buran, the Soviet space shuttle.
Well, and there's more of the destruction.
Yep.
The Antonov, we're going to see you in a flight simulator flying the thing. So, wow, just amazing that Russia would destroy the plane that's supposed to take their spaceships around, you know.
Well, that airplane was very symbolic. It was very important to Ukrainian people.
Yes. Okay.
When that airplane came back to that airport, people would be waiting for it, and it was a big deal when that airplane I came back every time.
Well, now we're going to see the simulator at Antonov.
Yeah, that's the simulator for the Antonov 124. I was given the opportunity to get a training flight in it. It was great. Here we are, and first
Looks a little bit still got the dials and things, not like your Airbus.
it's yeah, in that respect, it's very traditional, but everything works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
if it works, don't change it. That's the philosophy of the Western Bloc. Is
Prior to the war, they did have plans though to do some retrofitting there and put some more modern screens up there, but I don't think we're going to see that anytime
now, is
soon.
that a trainer?
Yeah, he was my that was my instructor, and so he was my instructor and first officer, and then I had 2 flight engineers, a navigator, a translator, and somebody to run the simulator. This here was part of the old simulator before they had it the way it is today. So if you would put the landing gear down, those wheels would actually move.
Okay. Did you fly the real thing, or were you just
No,
assuming?
only in the simulator.
And there's another view of the simulator area. Well, how accurate are simulators?
Very accurate.
Yeah.
Their simulators were just as good as the ones that we have here. They also showed me another simulator later for the Antonov 148 or 178, I think it was. That looks just like any simulator that we have here in the United States. When I went to training for Spirit Airlines, you do all your training in the simulator, and your first flight is actually with passengers.
Huh. Do you think that the space industry has influenced the accuracy of simulators, as space simulators, are well known for?
I'm sure it has.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
All right, we're there again is the
flight engineer panel in the Antonov 124.
all right, communications, all that stuff, or engineer. Now we're gonna jump from you're flying airplanes to you being a tourist and a space enthusiast going to some of the hallowed ground of the space program, the World Space Program. What are we looking at here, Daniel?
You're looking at Yuri Gagarin's office.
Hmm.
Every astronaut that's going to fly the Soyuz goes there. It's part of the many traditions in the Russian space program. So, and then they would sit down at that table there and they would sign the book that's at the end of the table. And then that's what they would do there.
Of course, Yuri Gagarin, the first human to orbit the Earth on April 12th, 1961. Yeah. Of course, Yuri's Night was just celebrated around the world. Mankind leaving humanity is the idea behind Yuri's Night. Was training to go to the moon with Alexei Leonov, probably, and got killed in a MiG jet,
MiG-15.
MiG-15 flight. We can talk about that sometime, but yeah. So here's
All right, so
cosmonaut.
yeah, I'm wearing the so-called.
You are wearing that.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
And then
We're going to see you getting suited up in a EVA suit.
but that's a different suit. This is the suit that you just wear to go from the ground to the ISS. It's just to protect you from pressurization issues.
So you are doing what here to be wearing this?
Over here, you'd be getting into the spacecraft.
Yeah. I mean, why do you have the privilege of opportunity to do this?
Well, there was
There you are again.
yeah. The first time when I went to Baikonur, there was the company that took care of everything that needed to be taken care of. Turns out that they can do everything for you as long as you are willing to
Pay for it. Huh?
pay for it.
All
Yeah,
right.
they could send you to the ISS. So I'm like, well, I'm a bit short for going to the ISS, but I'd like to do everything else.
Yeah.
So we set it up, the whole, everything. I got exposed to all the training aspects that a cosmonaut would go through if he's getting ready for spaceflight.
That is awesome. And we're going to see all this here. This is what's going on here, Daniel.
Over here, we're talking about our EVA training. The gentleman in the blue shirt, that's the doctor. The lady in the black is my translator, and he's just taking my blood pressure over there right now in preparation for EVA training.
Then think you'd have to hire a Russian translator too, then, right?
That's the lady in the black dress is that. I had two translators actually. So over here we're that blue suit, that's your cooling suit. So it's got lots of little lines in there that have cooling fluid run through it. So you don't overheat in your spacesuit. Now this is the other spacesuit again. This is the so-called spacesuit just to get up to the ISS.
Which, of course, we had a half a dozen or so American astronauts ferried up during the gap between the 2011 last shuttle and finally 2020. We went up to the International Space Station on a Crew Dragon.
So
That's you, man. Getting in the back of there. See him getting in the turtle hatch back there? Huh.
Yeah, it was interesting getting into that. And so they open up the suit from the back, and the door that opens up contains everything that you need to stay alive. Your oxygen, some water, pumps, and whatnot. It's all in there. They open it up like a door, and then you slide in on the back. And I remember going into it, and I'm thinking, once I'm into it, I have no idea how I'm going to get out, but we'll see about that later. Turns out it was not as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Wow. What's let's say, do we have another picture of you inside there? Yeah, there we go. Look at this, folks.
So over
Not
there,
only did you get in there, they hooked you up and moved you around.
yeah. So that it looks like a crane, and between me and the crane, there's a device that neutralizes my weight. So it really makes you feel that you're in zero gravity.
Really? Oh.
So there's various exercises you're going to be doing over here. I'm approaching the door, or the simulator door, for the International Space Station, to open it up with a wrench and all that stuff. And then you learn, you don't have a bench anymore that you can put your tool down and all that. You got to secure it somewhere. It was really interesting, and it's a lot of work. They said that my heart rate was a bit high.
How many hours did this involve? One whole day event?
Yeah, this lasted for a couple hours, I think.
So I'm always about what did it smell like? What did it feel like inside that? How does the shield not get fogged up? I mean,
It smells like nothing.
doesn't smell like nothing.
No, but the suit is actually very comfortable once you're in it. It feels,
Even in gravity. Huh?
yeah, it feels good, and you got a little panel on your chest, and it teaches you how to work the pumps and the lights and all that stuff.
Huh. All right. There you are again, simulating some aspect of the.
Yeah, that's
image
that's that same door.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. All right. Looks like a lot of fun.
That's the Mir training module.
Mm-hmm.
And what I remember from that thing is that it was very, very noisy. You got tons of fans going on there. That's probably why every picture that you see of an astronaut on Mir, he's wearing headsets.
Uh-huh.
Because it's very, very noisy in there.
Gotcha. Yes. And the space station's got its level of noise.
Yeah,
I
but it's
guess
not.
you got to have a lot of fans circulating that air. Wow.
So that's in the living module of the Soyuz spacecraft. So there's typically two profiles that exist to fly to the International Space Station: the 6-hour and the 2-day. So if you're doing the 6-hour profile, you just stay in the cockpit the whole time. But if you do the 2-day profile, you want to get out of there and stretch your legs, go up there and eat something. So there's a hatch above you that you can open up, and that allows you to go in there.
if you don't know, the Soyuz spacecraft is like two bulbous sections, and then it has a trunk behind it of the service module stuff. Those two bulbous sections, the one on the top is where you're sitting in there. They actually ascent and descent in the 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 bulbous area below. That's the spacecraft there. And I always thought that that was ingenious that the Russians built a little extra room to take up there. And I've always wondered, Daniel, what it looked like inside there. It's pretty doggone roomy.
It's not bad at all. I mean, you go out
Yeah.
there, stretch your legs, get away from the other two for a little bit if you want some privacy
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
I'm sure there's experiments conducted up there and so forth. So that has the docking area that docks with the space station or with the Salyut or Mir when it did there.
Right.
So you actually go into the space station by going through this. So there's actually two hatches,
Mm-hmm.
right, that you have to go through.
Right.
But it kind of looks like the inside of a telescope dome to me.
Yeah.
There,
You can
but,
see the other gentleman standing over there. That's my instructor for the Soyuz spacecraft.
It looks like a maybe a periscope there above his head, something like that. But well, it's a great picture there. Now here you are, actually inside of a Soyuz spacecraft, first flown over 40 years ago in 1968, still using the same general principle of it.
Yeah, it's a bit updated. You know, can't really tell in this picture, but you know, it's got the computer screens like you see in more modern aircraft and spacecraft.
You're 6'1". It looks like you have plenty of leg room.
Yeah,
Really?
it wasn't bad at all. I mean, you know, the commander seat is just a more comfortable one. I'm not sure about the flight engineer seats. Like my instructor's sitting in the flight engineer position.
Right, the commander in the middle there, so the other of two sides, and boy, you all know what that looks like. They're like packed in there like sardines with packages around them to take up to there. They don't waste any space in this thing. What do you have your hands on, right hand on there, Daniel?
That is one of the controls to steer the spacecraft. I'm not sure if we were in the middle of some problem. At some point, we lost the autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
and when you lose the autopilot, your RCS might still be active. So if one of those is still doing something, you're gonna fly in the wrong direction in a hurry, unless you do something.
Well, I've never seen inside a Soyuz spacecraft like this. This is very up close and personal to me. When we see them ascend up to, and sometimes they'll have the video of the launches, and the commander's got a little stick that he's pushing things in there. That's
Yeah.
not to just slap the other guys on the side, not to touch anything, is it?
No, it's just easier to push the button so you don't have to reach all the way up there. You know,
Yeah.
you're pulling between 3 and 4 Gs in the initial ascent, and it's just easier to.
Americans would probably try to hook it up by Bluetooth or something, and Russia just, we just take this stick and
Yeah,
that's long enough to hit it there. Am I right?
pretty much. You know, just
Uh,
to stick with a nice little handle on it to make it comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, have you ever heard the story where early in the space program, they were trying to come up with a way to write in space? So a pen came up with a 0G pen and so forth. But there was a lot of consternation about how are we going to record notes up there on the American side and so forth. And I believe this came from Tom Stafford, one of the first astronauts to train with the Russians. And once he got over there at Russia, they didn't have a problem writing in space on anything.
They just use pencils.
They use pencils. Yeah. Another dull moment, you know.
Right.
Why waste all that technology on ink when pencils are just as fine up there?
Yeah, there was no development necessary.
You had no development necessary. So, well, we're looking at a few close-ups here of the display.
Yeah, there's a red light on the indicator panel there, and you see a red square that's lit up on the screen, and that's telling us that the CO2 buildup in the capsule is getting too high.
Ooh, that red right there.
Yeah,
Uh-oh. danger, danger. Huh.
So that means that the scrubber needs to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
which is-
Physically changed.
Yes.
Filter. Yeah.
and that is under the so I was sitting in the middle, so that would be to my right, underneath the seat. So if there's somebody sitting there, um, he would have to move upstairs real quick or something, so we can get under the seat and change the
Oh.
module.
Interesting. All right.
And this is in the as we were docking with the space station. So typically you watch that on the screen, but if that screen were to die, then you have a some sort of a telescope in front of you that you can see it. If your screen were to malfunction.
Well, that's all we have from inside the Soyuz spacecraft there. Daniel DeYoung's our guest here. He's a captain on Spirit Airlines. He is a space enthusiast extraordinaire. I should say so, spending his hard-earned money on this adventure to play cosmonaut. Something that you think you might want to do again?
Probably not. The relationship with the Russians will never be repaired.
Right. Yeah, of course. You're not going to give them money after they're bombing your wife's church and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. That's
I kind of know what that's like.
equate this experience with flying. Your Airbus simulators or whatever. What stuck out to you about the difference of space travel versus airplane travel, as far as the flight mechanics?
It's actually more exciting.
Yeah, space is more exciting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
With everything that's going on around it, it's obviously it's very different. During liftoff in a spacecraft, you're kind of along for the ride. There are buttons that you need to push, and there are things that you can do, and you're monitoring. But other than a physical abort, there's really not a whole lot you can do during the ascent process. And even when you dock with the space station, that's typically done on the autopilot. So what you practice for in the training is all the malfunctions that could take place. But it's similar in aviation. There's a lot of things that can go wrong as you're taking off from the runway with a big jet. Your engine failure as you're trying to rotate or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Fires and all sorts of stuff can happen.
All right. Well, you have not gone to space, but you have experienced weightlessness.
I have.
And let's look at that part of your little journey here.
So that aircraft in the background there, that's an Illusion 76 4-engine cargo plane. I've done it once before here in the United States in the 727. It was quite different.
Mm-hmm.
That airplane was divided up in two halves, and one group stays in this half, the other group stays in that half. And you can do little tricks, and you have one instructor per compartment. With the Russians, we have a bit of a language barrier, but they make up for it with the number of instructors. It's almost 2 to 1. And they use light signals in the cabin to tell you what stage of the flight you're in, so that you're not surprised when you're coming out and you're up on the ceiling. So you can prepare and kind of work your way back down.
Well, here you are.
That's in a L-39 jet trainer. And that was part of the program, and so we flew that around for a little bit.
Interesting. Got some time in a jet trainer.
That's coming back from the 0G flight.
We got a picture of you there in the 0G.
Yeah, they made us wear parachutes for takeoff.
Oh, really?
It was kind of a bizarre thing so they make you wear this parachute. They tell you it's not going to do you any good the first 50 meters. So if something happens between 0 and 50 meters above the ground, you're basically screwed.
Toast.
Yeah. And then once we got up to altitude, we took them off and they stowed them, and we never saw them again for the entire flight. So
Really?
something about takeoff
Huh.
that they were worried about. They made us wear parachutes, and I guess you know, they just opened
Did
up.
they point to the door that you were going to jump out, or were you just going to try to figure that out on your own?
I was gonna go to the back door, the big one, and just jump out.
All right. Now we're going to another segment here. What was that part about? Oh, that should have been with. Oh, no, this is another amazing thing that you've done.
Yeah, this was
You ever
about,
wanted to know about being in a centrifuge out there, Tom Usiak or Carlton Bailey? Well, our good friend Daniel DeYoung's also done that on this.
yeah, we brought it up to about 3 Gs. That's as far as they wanted to go. And then here they're hooking me up. I was wearing a sort of a vest with so they could monitor all my medical parameters in the control room. And then you can see that black screen in front of me. It basically just contained lights.
Yeah, the kind of a horseshoe shape.
Yeah.
There above you. You're looking at it, actually, it looks like.
So as you're going around and around, they would turn these lights on, and every time when I saw a light, then I gotta press a button. And you know, if you start to black out, you're gonna lose your peripheral vision first, right? You're gonna go out like that. So this goes first, and then that goes. So if you start missing lights, they know they have a problem.
Uh-huh. Well, that's an interesting way to do it there. So, looks like you're ready to go, man. You got a big smile on your face, and that Russian lady, she's like, "Oh, okay, another
Yeah,
one."
I think she was hooking up something to my ear.
And then,
So this is a picture that one of my staff, because I had a bunch of staff that day, took for me from the control room at my request. I thought it was kind of cool to have that view.
absolutely cool. Wow.
Yeah.
And you said that whipped you around about 3 Gs, huh?
Yeah, and then they ask you before you start, have you ever experienced G's before? And I'm like, yeah, you know, yesterday in the L39 we pulled 5.5 G's. And I'm like, yeah, but that's momentary.
Mhm.
When you're in the centrifuge, it's sustained. So you're going to be at 3 Gs, and then you're going to stay at 3 Gs until further notice, basically.
Well, that's all of your vacation fun stuff that you've done there to put your hard-earned money down as captain on Spirit Airlines there. And now we're going to see some behind-the-scenes pictures of Star City and Bacanor, and you attended a launch of the MS-8 that took 2 Americans up to the space station in 2018, 6 years ago. So let's check that out. You threw a couple of shots of Chernobyl in there.
Yeah, we took a tour out of there quite a few years ago.
Where, of course, a nuclear disaster took place.
Nuclear disaster took place there in 1986, where reactor number 4 blew up due to errors that they made during a test. That's not a reactor that was never completed.
Oh.
I can't remember how many reactors they had. I think it was 4, but I'm not sure.
Things have grown back, obviously. It was a horrible mess there for a while. And what's that part of Chernobyl?
That's an antenna in the West known as the woodpecker, because if you pick up the transmission from that antenna, it sounds like a woodpecker.
Oh, okay.
It's that simple.
Huh.
But it was together with 2 other units. It was designed to detect incoming ballistic missiles from the United States.
Oh, wow.
So my guess is that was part of the reason why they didn't want any Western powers snooping around after the Chernobyl disaster, because that was a highly classified Soviet project.
There at their nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
Huh. Sneaky bastards. All right. Now we're going to go to Star City. All right. And that...
Yeah, so you see 2 cottages there. The one all the way to the left was Gagarin's. The other one was Korolov's, the designer.
Sergei Korolev.
And that's where they spent the night before the launch.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go in those, you can go inside those, and that's Yuri's room where he slept the night before the launch.
Have his uniform there in the case on the left, and all right, no pictures on the wall.
And that's his spacecraft. So it's over in Russia, those spacecraft do not go to some museum where everyone can see them. They go back to the manufacturer where it was built, and they have a little museum of their own, but it's not accessible to the public. It's the only spacecraft that has a red carpet going to it.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Could you
Yeah.
get up and look in it? You actually, duh. You got some pictures of it.
You
Right,
can look up into it. You can touch it. You cannot go. That's the only one they don't let you in. But it's other than that, it's not protected in any way, shape, or form.
Very primitive.
Yeah.
Compared to the Soyuz you were in.
So.
You've got a globe there to tell you where you're at on the Earth, supposedly.
Yeah, an interesting system, isn't it?
Yeah. In there. And probably just the environmental control dials there and radios on the left side or something, huh?
Yeah, not a whole lot of toys to play with.
Right.
That's for sure.
There's a beautiful model of a Vostok rocket. Is this at Star City or?
And this is
That's Baikonur.
Baikonur. It's
Baikonur.
not the greatest picture, but that's the lane or not really a street where all the astronaut or cosmonauts that fly on the Soyuz plant a tree.
Oh.
So obviously, Gagarin's tree is the biggest one. It's still there. It hasn't died yet.
So that's the one in the foreground, probably, huh?
Actually, that one would be to the left.
Okay. And did the Americans get to plant a tree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody that flies in the Soyuz plants a tree there.
Buren. Reset the clock. We're going to talk about Buren for just a second. But
yes, that one is basically a test article. So that one did not fly into space or anything like that. But other than that, that's the airframe of a Buran shuttle.
mm-hmm.
And that's what they use to put that shuttle on top of that Antonov 225.
Their demate device.
Yep.
That's an interesting piece of rusted structure. With some nice light on it.
So in the big letters on the bottom of the sign, it says Proton, which is a booster they're going to retire here shortly, which is a good thing. It's a big giant booster that runs on hypergolic fuels.
Mm-hmm.
So if something happens to it, you're going to have an environmental disaster.
Mm-hmm.
You spill a little bit of that stuff on the grass, and nothing will grow there for the next 5 years.
Yeah, hypergolic fuels, two liquids that touch each other and explode, and they are nasty stuff. A little eyedropper would go through your leg and the floor probably below you, right?
Oh, it's nasty stuff.
Yeah.
But everything was classified, so we couldn't go to the pad itself. I mean, we went to the pad, but we couldn't take any photos.
Wow, look at this structure here.
So that's where the shuttle was launched on that one flight that it made. And unless I'm mistaken, it was also the site where the N1 rockets
really?
departed from.
Yeah, the N1 moon rocket for Russia that never had 3 flights that blew up. Korolev said that he wanted 17 of them because he knew that it was going to take about 15 to blow up, before they were going to get it right. So, well, you're around to see this 1986 or 2018 launch. I mean,
yeah, that's
2 Americans and a Russian to the International Space Station. This is our only way to get there in 2018. So yeah, we got Oleg Artemyev on his second flight, Andrew Feustel. This is his third and last flight, and Ricky Arnold. 2 Americans. I don't think we did that very often. 2 Americans and 1 Russian on a Soyuz. But we probably paid them enough money that, We were happy with that.
Oh, they sure were.
They got to paying like up to $80 million a
Something
seat.
like that, yeah.
Yeah. And
But-
some of the space tourists, it was advertised 20 million, to go up there. But
They didn't stay very long.
no, they didn't stay very long. So
Now, on
a
that
lot of
previous-
traditions, a lot of pomp and circumstances, so to speak. For
Yeah. On a previous slide, you saw the purple bus and the blue bus.
mm-hmm.
So the purple one's for the prime crew,
On the right.
and the other one's for the backup crew. And they go to the building where they put on their so-called suits from here. So here they come out at that facility. They got their suits on and they're carrying their air conditioning boxes, and they have to report to the equivalent of the base commander.
How'd that suit feel to you, Daniel?
Not as comfortable as the other one.
Really?
Um,
You ever had a pumpkin suit on of a shuttle or any other suit?
no, just
Okay.
a Russian ones.
Mhm. That's a cool picture. Saying goodbye to family and friends.
Yep.
We know how safe space seems, but we do know that this could be the last goodbyes.
Well, it keeps proving over and over again that there's nothing routine about space flight, not even on the Soyuz.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. They're going out to the pad there.
That's right. This is the control room for the Energia, so that's where they would have been during the shuttle launch.
Uh-huh. They restored that. I kept that in there. Look at the bank of TV monitors on the right-hand side. That's old school. There's this gorgeous photograph. Sunrise over
Baikonur,
where space
Padawan.
flight began
Yeah,
for human beings. That is a very cool shot. The light on the railroad tracks. I don't know where that light's coming from. There must be some neon lights or something. But that really is awesome shot.
so here it comes from the assembly building, the
On a railroad train.
on the railroad, and that's the last railroad crossing before the pad. And so they take you out to the assembly building. It always rolls out at 7 in the morning. That's tradition.
Oh, really?
And then they take you out to that railroad crossing so you can see the whole thing come by, and then you go out to the pad and watch the installation. So if you take a close look at that, that's pretty pristine. That's all very clean engineering.
So, NASA wanted to build a $1 billion crawler to take our spacecraft out to the pad. And here we're just going to throw it on its side and throw it on a railroad
Yeah.
car, basically. And that's always been the efficient way. Yeah, everything does look just so spanking brand new.
So this is this is not the MS-8 mission. This is a couple of later ones, and it's the backup crew of it. This was in 2019.
Mhm.
That was going to be the first flight with a cosmonaut from the United Emirates, and it's going to be the last flight of Pad 1.
Uh-huh.
So it was historical in more than one way.
There again, the rail system taking the spacecraft there at the top with its escape system. Some detail there. You see the scale of this with the people. That's the strong back that lifts it up, right?
Yeah, it's one single cylinder. There.
One cylinder?
That's
Oh
it.
my gosh. Wow. Huh. That's interesting. That's a cool picture.
This
You know, Tommy Usiak's enjoying this because he's been at Baikonur. Oh, what a gorgeous backlit shot that is too, Daniel. Good photography, very beautiful. And what a launch you captured there.
There it goes.
Now, how close were you? You look. I've talked to several people there, and they are astonished at how close they are.
The first time we were a lot closer than I was when I took this shot. This is the second launch that I saw.
From the new pad, not
No,
the historic.
this is also pad 1.
Oh,
I've only seen them from pad 1. I've
Oh.
never seen them go off the other pad.
Okay.
But
Oh.
the first time we were a lot closer, they just dumped us in a grass field somewhere and go watch it from here.
Wow.
and they had some patrols walking around, but they didn't really do effective ground control or anything like that. There's probably about 7 or 8 busloads of people.
Huh. I was talking to someone that watched the launch. I can't remember who, and they were like, about a half hour before the launch, they're standing in a certain place, and then they're thinking like, well, where's the bus going to come to take us, to the launch site? And then about 10 minutes before launch, you realize we're really going to be this close.
Yeah.
And you're less than a mile away, mile and a half away. Where the closest for our launches is about 3.5 miles away.
We were a lot closer on the first launch versus the second one, because I remember my chest was pounding, and you could really feel that something was happening. The second time it was not so much. We were, I don't know how close we were, but definitely a bit further than the first time.
Well, we've enjoyed this conversation with Daniel DeYoung, giving us insight behind the scenes to Bacanor launch site, the Star City, being a cosmonaut. That's just I've really enjoyed it, Daniel, but we're going to end our program here with a couple things that you were involved in, and the First Man movie, and then going out to Jet Propulsion Lab to end our program today. So that is a Ron, or what's it, Gosling.
Yeah, that's a Ukrainian poster advertising the movie First Man.
And
then there was a press conference, and the company that was introducing the movie in Ukraine, the lady that was running the show there, she knew my wife.
okay,
And I was asked to be on that panel.
and you're on the far right there.
Yes. And then I'm sitting next to a gentleman who's associated with Firefly.
Okay,
And
Firefly Company.
right. And then the lady, third from the other side,
Uh-huh.
she is the wife of the late astronaut or cosmonaut Karanuk, Leonid Karanuk.
Okay.
He was the only astronaut that independent Ukraine ever had, and he flew on Space Shuttle Columbia on STS-87.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, 87. I've gotten you some decals and swag from that for your wife there before. Yeah.
There's a museum that's kind of dedicated to Leonid in his birthplace in Ukraine. We visited that museum. We've donated some items to that museum, including the stuff that we got from here.
Great. So there you are on the panel. The First Man. What did you think about the movie First Man?
I love the movie. I thought it was great.
I did too. I had no problems with it. I thought it was.
They did their homework. You know, they talked to the families. They got good information before they put things together. So it was great. I enjoyed it.
It really humanized the experience. Neil Armstrong, having had his young daughter die of cancer, is how the movie opens up.
Right.
And taking chemotherapy that was just so foreign back then for a little child. And then he had 4 of his X-15 pilot friends were killed in crashes, and of course his friends in Apollo 1, and pretty lot on that man's mind, Neil Armstrong. And but it is a great movie, not just about him, but all the families and the kids, and sort of like, what they went through.
Yeah, what it was like as a family.
Yeah. So Gary Gerald, hope you're enjoying today. I know you are. Doug Forrest is in Los Angeles. Mark and Tom Usiak are watching. Your buddies Carlton Bailey, all those people you broke bread with. Dave Stangy, his granddaughter's watching today. Thank you. Keith Sewell. Keith, I hope you had a great eclipse there in Arkansas. Hadn't had time to look up and see your pictures. Steve Jokums is back home at Lake County Spaceport. You sat around and talked to Steve during Shuttlefest, didn't you?
Sure I have.
Yeah. Great guy Steve is, and we appreciate your support of our museum. Partial Ukrainian Chris Callie watching today. We've got Sutra Leica B, Bill Whiting, Lillian's watching, Guziak, our grant writer here, and at the museum, and Marina Rudko. from the Ukraine.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's not the regular lady we watched from. That's Maria, isn't it, Marty? Yeah. Yeah, Marty, go ahead and what's the question or comment?
Yeah, a little bit off the subject, but got a comment from Keith Sowell that he's in Arkansas and attended the 36 UFO conference in Eureka Springs. I think we need to get him on the show. Talked about UFOs.
Yeah, that'd be good to have Keith on here. Keith was the astronomer here at the American Space Museum, and I followed him, and another guy, David, was involved. So very interesting. Yeah, of course, Keith. Anytime we talk in UFOs, everybody's ears perk up. So how many UFOs have you seen flying around the friendly skies?
You know, I'm not sure if I ever saw any or not. I remember flying around one night, and on the emergency frequency, there was a bunch of pilots talking about lights to the east and how they were moving around and this and that, and this went on and on. But I never saw them that night. I had a flight not that long ago coming back from LA. It was a red eye. And we also saw something weird in terms of lights and, coming on and moving around in interesting ways, but it's always just lights. You never see an actual physical thing.
Right, yeah. The body that the lights are attached to.
Yeah, so, I mean, God knows what that was.
Well, good. That's some honesty there. Let's couple more scenes from your illustrious career here. Here we are. Some of you probably been here.
Yeah, the control room at JPL. I thought that was one of the most fascinating places I had ever been to.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, from that desk right in front there, they're controlling a rover that's riding around on Mars.
Good way to put it, Daniel. Exactly.
And then, a little bit
And there
later,
you are
yeah,
in front of that there. Yes, it is quite amazing. The rovers on Mars are just amazing, and more money should be put into that type of exploration, I think. There is
so that is an exact model, or an exact copy, a working copy of the Mars rover Perseverance. The only thing that's different is that the RTG is not installed, so that it gets the power from another source.
they have a cable attached to it or something.
Yeah,
don't
but
they?
other than
Power
that, the
cable.
thing is identical, and then from there, they drive it out into the sandbox, and that's what that is.
And that's where they test going over rocks and
Yeah.
things that they're looking at, and can we negotiate through that and all that stuff. And somebody left their lunch chair out there, plastic lunch chair there to monitor everything. What's all those tanks in the back?
I have no idea.
Okay, but this is in Pasadena, California,
Correct.
and I'm thinking that Doug Forrest is probably saying I just live like 3 miles from there, because I think he does.
Yeah, maybe.
Artist Doug Forrest.
Yeah.
There, so, but then you got to see the launch.
Yeah, that's
Perseverance.
that's Perseverance on its way.
How cool is that? There it is.
There.
That's the real deal there.
That's Perseverance being built.
And there it is going to Mars. It's been on Mars over 2.5 years. And this is the one that had the little rover on it.
Right.
Okay.
And this is after the launch.
There's your wife and you.
Yep.
Let's see here. So, just a couple other things to mention here. That, of course, everybody tells me about Space Fest and what a great event Space Fest was, and that's what we hope for our Shuttle Fest to become. So, here you are out at Space Fest with who are you there with?
And there with Dave Scott, commander of Apollo 15, and he was kind enough to put his autograph on my disky.
I was just gonna say, that's a disky in front of you, or his calculator to add up all of his
All of his fees.
All of his fees. Wow, that's a pretty cool artifact to have.
That's a working replica
Is
of
it
a
really?
disky. Yep.
What company makes that, if you remember or there's a company out there that makes those, huh?
I think they're out of Asheville, but I'm not sure. It's in the Carolinas somewhere.
Mhm.
And they had a booth at Space Fest one time, and they had another one at an ASF event. And I talked to them both times, and eventually I decided to get one.
Very neat. How was your brief encounter there with one of 4 moonwalkers alive? Dave Scott's 90 years old. Of course,
We've,
Buzz Aldrin, Charlie Duke, and Harrison Schmidt are the other ones alive.
Dave and I have always had good conversations. I like Dave. We get along good.
Uh-huh. Sweet. And then the one last slide here, one last American hero.
It's Michael Collins signing the Apollo 11 flight plan.
Wow. Apollo 11 flight plan. That is such a rare commodity, folks, that we have it in our case about 12 feet away from where I'm sitting
I
here.
have it in the case.
You have it in the case?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, with a good lock and key on it. That's in better shape than ours because the front page has been ripped off the staple.
Okay.
But I'll tell you how much that's worth afterwards here. Let's see how that stacks up. Daniel, what a fascinating life you've led, my friend. And I knew you were involved in some of this stuff that we talked about, but not putting on a Russian suit and sitting in a Soyuz spacecraft. And like you said, that's a lifetime of thing you'll never do again.
Right.
We've got L.S. Daniels watching.
Okay.
All right. No, okay, I thought it might be somebody you knew. Anyway, something that you'd like to share with our Stay Curious friends out there that didn't ask you.
No, not really. It's as far as our situation in Ukraine goes, we sincerely, on behalf of the Ukrainian people, I'd like to thank the American people for the support that they have given so far. But we're not going to last without it. So it is essential that that this aid continues, so we can stop Putin in his tracks. It's not just for their safety in Ukraine, but it's also for the safety of the rest of the Western world. In particular, they're looking for funds to acquire Patriot missile systems, so we can guard the sky a little bit better. What we saw the other day going into Israel, we kind of experienced that pretty regularly in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been there when it was going on, so I know what that's like when you're being bombed. So yeah, we hope for that. In terms of like a $60 billion package, more than half of that would stay in the United States because it goes into our defense industry here.
Right, to make the things that we're going to send over there.
Exactly.
Well, it's a very serious situation, and we love Daniel.
That's his wife.
Oh, and he's laughing.
Yeah.
Okay. And to your wife's name again, tell everybody.
Luda.
Luda.
Yeah.
Yes, Luda. We're glad that you're watching. And God bless you and your country and the serious nature that you're in. Thank you for outlining that here at the end of the program, Daniel. There's so many conflicts in the world, and I know that we're probably diverting some money to Israel that could go to Ukraine, but they're both great allies of America, and we know that both are linchpins into peace on Earth here. So best of luck to you, buddy.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see you again in our museum.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for doing a good job.
Glad to be here.
Marty, anything else we need to button up over there in our Streamlabs production? Well, thank you for doing a good job. That's about a record number 90 images that we just went by you here, and all of them worthy of your attention as well as mine. So until tomorrow, when we're going to talk about a little space and some spacey things, I'm Marquette saying I can't wait to see you in our museum like I met Daniel, just to bridge the space between us. Come back.